Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We hope that your weekend was a great one. It is 6 o'clock, and that means it's now time for our English Flash News edition, in which we have prepared a translated version of today's news for you. Today's news: the European Parliament has discussed a 24-point resolution for Albania. The resolution was drafted by the reporter for Albania, Mr. Knut Fleckenstein. The assessment by Fleckenstein says that the polarization of politics in Albania is putting their advancement toward the EU at risk. He writes, "The political polarization in Albania is a concern which may jeopardize their efforts toward integration. The governing coalition and the opposition must have sustainable, constructive, and comprehensive political dialogue in order to complete the needed reforms." The European Parliament member also raised a series of concerns about the country, including corruption, organized crime, and terrorism. "We welcome the efforts of the government in the judicial reform," he said, "but we point out the shortcomings that exist in the judicial system, such as the political abuse, the high level of corruption, insufficient resources, and delays." The EP reporter said that strengthening the rule of law and reforming the justice system are both absolutely vital for progress. He called the political parties in Albania to follow the agreement of December. The European Parliament expects Albania to follow through with the investigation of Mark Froku, the arrested MP. After today's discussion of the resolution, the European Parliament will vote on it tomorrow. The Democratic Party is claiming that the Socialist Party candidate for Kruja, Artur Bushi, is involved in an ongoing investigation by the Italian police. The Democrats say that he was arrested for trafficking drugs. The head of the Democratic Party has presented a document that backs up his claims, an Italian newspaper from 2010, which indicates that Artur Bushi was arrested in Italy. According to Basha, the Prime Minister is continuing to select people with criminal records to hold public office, including his candidates for the local elections. The Socialist Party has already responded to these statements, saying that Artur Bushi is not a criminal and that the Democratic Party is merely trying to damage the image of their candidates. The Democratic Party has revealed several more of their candidates for the upcoming local elections on June 21st. The Democrats have publicized their candidates for Lushnja, Perenjas, and Malic. Even though there are only a few days left before the deadline for the registry of candidates, the Democratic Party has not resolved all of its disagreements with its allies. One of these allies, the Demo-Christian Party, was not pleased with the latest announcement of candidates. Their leader, Nard Ndoka, gathered his party together today to discuss this problem. The Demo-Christian Party says that they were not consulted before the Democrats chose these candidates from the coalition. The negotiations with the Republican Party have also been problematic. The Democrats and the Republicans have not been able to agree on a candidate to run for mayor in Durrës. The Republican Party has proposed Agron Duka, and they have said that they will not back down from this nomination. It has been learned that in the recent meetings between the parties, they made the decision to conduct a poll to assess support for the Durrës candidate. Six members of the Albanian parliament are planning to leave their mandates behind in order to run for mayor positions. These departures have left openings available for new MPs to fill. It has been announced that 3 new MPs will be added to the socialist group. 2 new members will be replacing Armand Subashi, who was chosen by the Socialist Party to run for mayor in Fier, and Majlinda Bufi, who will run for mayor in Raskoveci. A 3rd new member will replace Artur Bushi, who is leaving his mandate to run for mayor in Kruja. The Democratic Party will also add 2 new members who will replace the MPs of Elbasan and Tropoja, who will be running for mayor in their respective cities. The Socialist Movement for Integration has also selected an MP to run for the municipality of Perenjas, and she will also be substituted. The changes to the assembly are expected to continue because the candidates for the biggest municipalities in the country have still not been revealed. The Assembly Speaker, Ilir Meta, hosted an activity for the Albanian youth today in the Parliament building. The activity was called the Albanian Model to the United Nations. Mr. Meta feels that in the last 24 years, the Albanian Parliament has been a hindrance rather than a help to the development of Albania. According to him, the Albanians have had to bear the consequences of the constant political conflict in the Parliament. He said, "There is no doubt that Albania has experienced tremendous transformation and progress in the last 24 years, but we could have gone further if collaboration had been the prevailing spirit. For this failure, the responsibility falls on the political parties," said Mr. Meta. The Assembly Speaker expressed the belief that there is a way to advance Albania's progress. "The truth is that many of you will become educated, and one day you may join this Parliament as representatives of the people. I am convinced that your contribution in the future will be much more productive than the debates that currently dominate this Parliament," he said. When a couple divorces in Albania, it is not unusual for the father to refuse to obey the court and to contribute financially to his children after the divorce. The Tirana court psychologist says that this often happens because the fathers think that the money will be used by the mother and will not be spent on the needs of their children. A new bill for protecting the interest of children in cases of divorce was presented to the Law Commission 2 weeks ago by the MP Majlinda Bregu. Despite the fact that the bill was approved by the majority, it does contain some legal holes. A working group has been established to add some proposals to the bill to fill in the points that are lacking, and then the Law Commission will discuss the bill a second time. By next winter, the Palace of Brigades in Tirana, which has been built for King Zog, will be opened up to the public of Albania. For the first time, the citizens will be able to explore the mysteries of this historic building. The building is being opened thanks to a joint project by the Italian Embassy and the Albanian American Fund. Mr. Michael Granoff had this to say about the project. "This is a good example of what can be done with the cultural heritage of Albania. This is a project in which people can come not only to visit, but also to contribute. Cultural heritage is part of a country's economic development. I believe the restoration of the palace will be finished by next winter," he said, "but there is a lot of work to do, so we have no time to lose." The architect Artan Shkreli explained that the palace was in terrible condition and the cost of refurbishing it was very high. According to him, this is the reason that it has not been opened already. The first phase of the project was to thoroughly assess the condition of the palace. The second phase is going to be started very soon, and it will include an international competition for contractors with restoration plans for the building. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our news for this evening. Thank you for joining us. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with more Albanian news translated into English. Thanks, and have a great night.